Thank you everyone for joining me here today. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. I'm excited to talk to you all about brand and why it matters for associations. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Alex Blair. I'm the Director of Strategy for Beyond Definition. We're a brand and marketing agency. For more than 18 years, we've been serving the association and member-driven space. First is Bates Creative, who many of you probably know, and then we rebranded to Beyond Definition in 2019. We've worked with dozens of associations, mission-driven organizations, nonprofits, maybe even some of you through the years on everything from marketing campaigns to website redesigns. And I've personally led many of our clients through one of the most challenging things that any organization can go through, rebranding. And we hear rebrand, and some people may think a new logo or a new look and feel. But really, when clients come to us for a rebrand, it's because of something much deeper. They're facing a challenge like they aren't connecting with their audiences, they aren't distinguishing themselves from their competitors, or maybe they're evolving and the brand needs to catch up, or maybe all of the above. They're often not facing those challenges by choice. So today, I want to talk about why brand is so key and important right now to associations and member-based organizations, but really any organization. And even though the pandemic is ending, so many of these challenges aren't really going to be going away because you think about what associations are facing today, right? We're facing so many challenges around recruitment, retention, and engagement. This past year, employers and individuals have had to reevaluate spending and their budgets. Conferences have gone virtual, publications have gone digital, and maybe coming out less frequently. And you've got a whole new generation of potential members coming into the workforce who may be less inclined to join an association or attend a conference or subscribe to a publication. So it's more important than ever that as associations, you stay relevant for your members and for your key audiences, and you connect with them. And building a stronger brand is really how you do that. So before I go any further, I think it's important to kind of be on the same page about what brand is. Brand is not your logo or your name. Brand is who you are to your audiences. So the key question to ask to think about brand is, what do members think of when they think of our organization? And the answer to that question, whether it's good or bad or complicated, that's what your brand is. It's experiences, thoughts, and feelings about your organization that ultimately influence a member's behavior. So I said today's topic is how brand is key to your member experience, but I kind of cheated. Brand actually is your member experience at the end of the day. It's understanding your members and their experience and why they choose you. Now, think about your current brand. Some of you with kids may recognize this drawing from the book Press Here, but imagine a bad brand experience here on the left. It's scattered, it's inconsistent, it's jarring. If your member experience is not consistent, it's not a good brand experience. Every interaction may feel like they're dealing with a completely different organization, maybe a different personality. Ask yourself, would your members describe your organization differently depending on whether they, say, attended your conference or subscribed to your magazine, or if they spoke to a staff member or follow you on social media? A strong brand means aligning every member experience and every interaction and aligning your member experience so that anyone who interacts with a member needs to be on the same page. Otherwise, your member experience will suffer for it, right? You want your members to know that they're dealing with the same organization every time they interact with a piece of content or a staff member or consume some of your services. And not only the same organization, but an organization that really understands them and understands itself and delivers real value for them. So if you don't have a strong brand, you can do all those things, but you won't stick in their minds. You aren't maximizing your efforts or capitalizing on your efforts or getting credit for your work on behalf of your members. Every interaction with members happens in a silo instead of building towards deeper and deeper loyalty and trust. So today we're going to talk about how to get all your dots in a row and how to align that member experience. First, I want to share an example of a client that kind of had some challenges with their brand and what this might look like for an association to kind of get their brand aligned. So this crew, they're an association for women in commercial real estate. awesome group of people. One of my favorite clients, just an incredible organization. Really, really love them. But the brand didn't reflect how great they were. The people who made up the organization, their members, amazing, smart, successful, energized, but the brand wasn't capturing that. When your brand isn't aligned, you aren't harnessing the energy of your members or their culture that they're creating. You're not reflecting them. And if that's the case, then suddenly it's all on your members to create the culture. And it's really all on them to create a positive reputation for you. Members need your help to do that. They need your help to build a strong brand. So with Crew, it was important to really dig deep to understand what it was about their members that made it such a special group. Now, we found that their members really value these ideas of success, leadership, connection, and equity. And that's what the organization stands for, but also what they offer to their members. And so, to reflect all of those things, the organization really needed to be things like vibrant and proud and modern, welcoming and engaging, all things that their members were, but the organization needed to do that too. And the great thing is that brand that we're talking about would really, really stand out from their competitors in the commercial real estate world. But it would do that, it would stand out in a way that was true to who they already are and who they want to be. So I know I said that brand is much more than a logo, but you can see here how we started to build a brand that reflected all those great things about their members in the organization. It's got energy, forward movement, vibrancy. It's really modern and polished, all things I would use to describe their members. And then we really brought this to life, and you can kind of see how some energy and confidence got injected into the brand and the member experience with this campaign we did called We Build This. So now we're starting to see some of that culture, again, that the members have already created, reflected back in the actual brand, so that members, their members, could feel like, the organization is representing them well to their bosses and their colleagues and their customers. This is a public facing campaign. So suddenly they could be proud of how the organization was portraying itself because it reflected how they all are and what it was like to be a member, what that experience was. Now, it's important to think about this, I think, as a mirror. So, again, at the end of the day, your audience is your brand. For a member-based organization like an association, your audiences are creating your brand every day. You need to reflect who they are and help them create a great brand, a great reputation, a great culture, and a great organization. But you also want it to be aspirational. So in my house, we have a mirror that's leaning up against a wall. And I walked by it one day and I kind of had to stop myself and did a double take, like, man, I'm tall, like I look pretty good. Then I realized it was because the mirror was tilted. It's like a funhouse mirror. We call it a skinny mirror. So remember, when you are holding up a mirror to your members, make sure that it's a mirror that makes them look a little better in real life so that they have something to aspire to. Next thing I want to talk about is how brand is so connected to both self-identity and group identity. So I wear certain clothes and shoes to communicate about my identity. I drive a certain car because of what it says about my values and how I see myself. I buy these products not only because they reflect my identity, but also because I'm joining a club and a group by being, a Subaru driver. So with associations, though, that's even more of an explicitly group identity relationship, right? As opposed to a consumer brand, because they are literally listing your brand on their resume. Maybe they have a business card that's their association business card. They carry around your tote bag and wear your swag. They even fly across the country to meet with the tribe or the group. So your association and that brand experience is really powerful for them because they're literally joining your club by being part of your brand. People probably remember these commercials. Am I a Mac or a PC, right? PC was kind of this like stodgy old business guy. Mac was young and hip and really cool. And it really played to this idea that I'll buy a Mac or an Apple product because I want to be young and hip. I think of myself that way. Buying this product reinforces that. I become part of this cool club. Your members, subconsciously at least, they're going through the same process with you. And with associations, again, this process matters even more because what they think about you, again, their perception of your brand in their minds, the thoughts and feelings associated with it, your association really reflects on their profession, their industry, their jobs, and even their skills and their personality, them as people. So just swap in your name and maybe a competitor's name for Mac and PC. Your members at some point, at least subconsciously, are asking, am I a Mac or a PC person? Whenever they're making a decision concerning their relationship with you and how engaged they're going to be. The key to strengthening your brand is understanding your members and why they choose to be a part of your club, and how you can make them want to join your club and what that's like for them. And that starts with understanding your value and what that experience is like for them in reality. And you usually do this through interviews, focus groups, and surveys, but really hearing directly from your members and digging deep. So, talked a lot about what a brand is. Here's how you build a stronger brand. Here's some important principles to remember and to keep in mind. The most crucial thing here, audience first. Your brand has to be relevant to your audience. It has to be built around them and what they care about, not around you. Not how the organization has done it for decades, not how you see yourself internally. You have to step into their shoes and empathize with them and understand what it's like for them and why they should care. And then you have to have, again, a really good understanding of your value and the value that you offer to members. From there, you have to differentiate yourself from your competitors, understanding what's different about you and why your members choose you as specifically as opposed to your competitors. And then you build a brand on that core. Sounds simple, right? I want to dive in there. So here's how you build a brand once you have that core defined. You start with the mission, vision, purpose, value, positioning. Really what these are is defining what you do, why you do it, and why it matters. Then, based on that, you can start to build out a little bit into that next ring of the circle. So those are the emotional triggers that are going to connect with your audiences. We call these your promise, your essence, and your pillars. Could be different things, but really it's about understanding the underlying thoughts and feelings that you want your members to have about you, really what you want them to feel when they think about you. So this is much more emotional and psychological. And it is emotional. I'm not saying it needs to be, adrenaline pumping or tug on your heartstrings. I realize we're associations here, but there is some emotion behind it. Even if it's something like trust and security or competence or knowing that someone has your back and understands you, those are all emotional experiences. So then when you've defined those first two core circles, that's when you can build out a little bit once those are clearly defined with your name, your visual identity, your personality, and your voice. They really have to be connected to that who, what, and why. And finally, once that's all defined, this is how you get everything on the same page, like those dots I showed you earlier. That's when you build out your member experience. And that could be marketing, PR, messaging, events, publications. It all has to be connected to that core. That's how you ensure that consistent experience for members and an experience that's actually going to resonate with them and feel relevant to them. So here's a template you can use to actually think about some of these, little thought exercise. Feel free to screenshot this. This is just kind of a Mad Lib, but really this is centering again on what you do, why does it matter, and what do you want your members to feel about you? So just think about, filling in, at the core, or really what we do, this could be a few things, but the services we offer, the offerings we have to our members are, but then that second point, really defining what it is, what's the core value that underlies that. This should be a word or a handful of words because you're really getting to the core of why they care. And then what's different from you from your competitors? What's that unique value that they get from you that they can't get anywhere else? That could be practical, that could be emotional, that could be career driven, it could be a lot of things, but really boil it down to what's that key value. And then what's the emotional state you want your members to feel when they interact with you? Do you want them to walk away from every experience feeling prepared for their jobs, confident, secure in their career, informed about the future, growing? What do you want them to feel? What do you want that emotional experience to be? And then finally, think about the personality. You don't want to be a dry, robotic institution. You don't want to sound like all your competitors. They should be able to pick you apart. If I shared a report, if they heard an interview on the radio. You want them to recognize you. So what's your personality as a brand? Not everyone should be cold and institutional and safe and boring, right? You may need to be confident and authoritative, or you may need to be approachable and warm. Maybe you need to be really ambitious and optimistic. What's your personality to make you stand out so that they feel like they're dealing with an organization made up of people and not just a dry institution that doesn't feel human? There's no emotional resonance with a brand like that. Here's an example we've done for a client to spell out their voice and what it could look like, right? So we've really pinpointed what a unique voice looks like for them, how they can stand out from their competitors, and how they can be recognizable over time because they speak in the same voice again and again and again. So I've talked a lot in theory, but I want you to imagine, what does a stronger brand look like to a member and to an actual member experience? Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine an association brand that speaks like it's made up of humans, not robots. If I'm a member, I know it's run by people who have been in my shoes. They know my pains, challenges, and priorities, or at least it feels like they do. They speak like they've worked in my industry. They even feel like maybe they had my job once. I feel like they've got my back and I can trust them. You can kind of hear some of the emotion coming into this, right? I can instantly tell them apart from their closest competitor because every time I interact with the association, I can tell they get it and they care about serving me. I read their annual report and I could tell it was them right away, just looking at it and reading it. Every time I get an email from them, I open it because I know it's got good information in it and it won't waste my time. It's tailored to me and my needs and priorities. And it's always like this when I interact with the association, right? I follow them on social media, I attend their conference, I read their magazine, and I speak to them on the phone about once a quarter. And I can tell they've got good people top to bottom because every experience, at least subconsciously, reinforces my trust and my expectations. It's consistent. Wouldn't that be great, right? So I know this is a lot to digest with some practical steps you can take. So here's some action items you can do today to improve your brand. For each of these, I recommend what you do is write it down in one sentence. Force yourself to get it down to one sentence and not a sentence with a bunch of, subordinate clauses and semicolons, a simple sentence, because if you can't boil it down to that, then you're missing the fundamentals behind it. You can do these on your own or with your team, but again, make sure you actually write them down and get it to one sentence. All right, so first, what is it that your customers value most about your organization? Why do they choose you? And that statement is your value proposition. Now you have to ask yourself honestly, are you clearly communicating this value to your members? Do your members know that this is the value they get from you? And would your staff say that this is why you matter? Do they know this? Getting a good, strong brand can help solve all those problems. All right, second, what sets you apart from your competitors? What's your unfair advantage? What makes you unique? Now you've got your positioning statement. Okay, now ask yourself, honestly, would your members have the same answer? And would your members be able to tell you apart from your competitors and articulate that difference? Or are you all kind of the same in their mind? And then finally, and this is where some of those emotional and psychological triggers come in, what is your goal for every interaction a member has with your organization, your association? And this could be psychological, emotional, it could be more practical, but what do you want them to feel? What do you want them to walk away with? And ask yourself, is this what it's like for your members when they interact with you? And is this something that your whole team would agree upon and rally behind? Some scary questions, but hopefully good answers. So that condensed about right at 20 minutes, look at that. That condensed about 6 months of research and strategy conversations and thinking into 20 minutes. But I hope it's valuable for you to at least start thinking about who you are to the people that you care about most, your members, your customers, whatever you call them, and how you can create a better relationship between your brand and your members. And we've got, I think, 10 minutes for questions. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I know I moved quickly. We could talk about this stuff all day, but happy to, it doesn't look, I'm gonna check the chat. Don't see any questions, but happy to answer any questions if anybody can hop on or wants to ask anything either in the chat or on audio. Well, if anyone, I'll give a couple seconds for anyone, if anyone does want to answer questions. I put my email up here. It's really easy to remember. I'm happy to continue the discussion with anybody if this sparked any thoughts or questions or frustrations and you want to chat more. My inbox is open to talk more about, any of these issues. It's a lot. It's a really complicated thing to talk about in 20 minutes, but it's so important right now for associations, for your members, for so many organizations. Cool. Well, I imagine I might make my way over to the speaker hangout session. If anybody wants to connect there, or send me a private message. Thank you so much for attending, everyone. I hope this was helpful and hope to continue the conversation with any of you offline, and hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions. I think they've been great so far. Thanks, everyone.